Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, respected speakers, and participants joining us from various cities and countries. Welcome to the International Webinar Series 2026 organized by Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta in collaboration with Qhomemart. My name is Hannah and it is my pleasure to serve as your host for today's webinar. We would also like to express our sincere appreciation to our valued sponsor, Qhomemart, for their generous support in making this event possible. Qhomemart, si pasti lengkap. We are delighted to welcome so many participants joining us today via Zoom as we explore our theme, Designing with, Not for, where community voices inform spatial thinking. Today's webinar is part of Mantra Expo, organized by Qhomemart and the AEI Yogyakarta chapter, the largest architecture and construction exhibition in Yogyakarta, which will take place from 23 to 26 July 2026. This event combines exhibition, talk shows, and workshops, bringing together innovation, collaboration, and inspiration in the architecture and construction ecosystem. This webinar is part of the AAI Yogyakarta Chapter International Talk Show Series with the theme When Architecture Listen, Designing for Communities. A theme that reminds us that architecture is not just about building, but about listening too. As part of the International Webinar Series, today is our second session. This webinar series will be held monthly, featuring renowned international speakers from Thailand, Singapore, Philippines, and South Korea. And good news for everyone, don't miss our next webinar on 23rd May 2026, featuring architect Delano Marzo from Philippines, with a special 25% discount for the first 15 registrants with promotion code Qhomemart25. So don't forget to add the promotion code for next ticket. Before we begin, allow me to briefly share a few guidelines for all participants. This webinar will be recorded. By attending, participants consent to the recording. Please keep your microphone mute and activate it only when invited by the moderator. Participants are expected to maintain respectful and professional conduct throughout the session. Questions may be submitted at any time through the chat box. The moderator will invite selected participants during the Q&A session. As some materials are confidential, screenshots are strictly prohibited. If you prefer not to speak directly, please inform the moderator in the chat after submitting your question. Please use respectful language in the chat and Q&A section. Discriminatory, offensive, or promotional messages are not permitted. The host reserves the right to remove any disruptive participants. Kindly rename your username using the format kodebooking_surname. We will also have a special door prize which will be announced at the end of this webinar. 3 lucky participants will receive Qhomemart voucher worth 100,000 rupiah. For those who wish to participate, please kindly register your name through the link provided. We encourage you to stay until the end of the webinar. If a winner's name is announced but the participant has already left the session, we may redraw and select another winner. To begin our formal session, we will listen to the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Operator, please play Indonesia Raya, followed by the hymn AII and Mars AI. Thank you.
kami Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia dengan jiwa penuh pengabdian mengawal peradaban bangsa dengan daya cipta dan penuh kreasi berpegang kode etik profesi bertekad membangun negeri. Selalu belajar, meningkatkan diri untuk dipercaya dan berkompetensi mencapai harkat yang tertinggi. Padukan seni serta teknologi, ciptakan ruang dan tata masa untuk lingkungan binaan yang lestari. Pancasila dan tata organisasi bersama sang mitra berkewajiban untuk jujur, profesional, tak pernah ragu dalam berkarya.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great pleasure to invite Mr. Hengki Sampatihuang, Managing Director of Qhomemart, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Mr. Hengki, the floor is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Warm greetings to all of you joining us today from Indonesia, Singapore, and other places. Today, we are not just talking about architecture. We are talking about how architecture can connect people, shape life, and create responsibility. Because what we design today will affect how people live in the future. My name is Hengki Sampatihuang. I'm the director of Qhomemart and the initiator of Mantra Expo. First of all, I would like to warmly welcome all participants to our international webinar series number 2, Architecture Beyond Borders, Practice, People, and Responsibility. I would also like to say thank you to Architect Erlangga Winoto, Chairman of AAI Yogyakarta, for the support and collaboration. Architect Kawarismi Norisem, Chairman of the Arcasia Committee on Young Architect, for the support and contribution to today's event. And our speaker today, Architect Wen Tian Chiu from Singapore, whose work show how architecture can create real impact. And also our moderator, Architect Kartian Smara Lili, for guiding today's discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, today architecture is not only about buildings. It is about creating value. In the future, the architect who stand out will not only be those who design beautiful buildings, but also those who can turn ideas into real impact and turn shapes into meaningful experience. That's why learning from global experience is very important. Today, through Architect Wen Tian Chiu will not only see design, but also learns how architecture can truly serve people. This webinar is a part of our journey towards Mantra Expo 2026. Mantra Expo is a place where ideas, industry, and collaboration come together. Thank you for being here today. I hope this session will give you new ideas, new insight, and fresh inspiration. Because in the end, architecture is not only about what we build, but also about what people feel. Thank you very much, and please enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henki, for your warm welcome and for your support for this webinar. Next, we are honored to hear remarks from the chairman of Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia, Yogyakarta chapter. Please welcome Architect Erlangga Winoto, AAIAA. Architect Erlangga Winoto, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Architect Hana. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Distinguished speaker, respected moderator, honored guests, and all participants from Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and all of Asia. A very good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the Indonesian Institute of Architects, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta chapter, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Road to Mantra Expo 2 International Webinar Series to entitled Architecture Beyond Borders, Practice, People, and Responsibility. We are truly honored to have with us today our distinguished speaker, Architect Wen Tianqiu from Singapore, as well as our respected moderator, Architect Kartian Smara Lili. Your presence brings valuable insights and strengthens the spirit of collaboration across countries and cultures. The webinars reflects our shared commitment as architects to go beyond physical boundaries. Architecture today is not only about designing buildings, but also about understanding people, responding to social needs, and embracing responsibility toward communities and the environment. Through this forum, we hope to foster meaningful discussions, exchange knowledge, and inspire innovative ideas among young architects and professionals across the region. We also express our sincere appreciation to Qhomemart Yogyakarta, Pak Henki, Pengurus Nasional Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia, Arkasia Committee on Young Architects, Architect Kawarismi Nur Hasim, for initiating this important webinar series, as well as to all participants who have taken the time to join us today. Your enthusiasm shows that the future of architecture in our region is in good hands. We hope these sessions will be insightful, engaging, and beneficial for all of us. Thank you for your participation, and I wish you all a productive and inspiring webinar. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Good afternoon, Mr. Erlangga. Thank you very much for your inspiring remarks and your leadership in supporting this international webinar. Next, we are also honored to welcome Architect Kawarismi Nur Hisham, the chairman of Arkasia Committee on Young Architect, or ACEYA. Mr. Architect Kawarismi, the time is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here today, and I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to IAI Yogyakarta chapter for hosting this webinar. And I think it is good for us to remember this particular cross-regional platform, Arkasia, cut through 24 countries in Asia. And ACYA, or Arkasia Committee on Young Architects, is not just a platform, it is also a springboard for action. And this year, under the leadership of Arkasia President, Architect Professor Wu Jiang, I think it is very clear that he wants this term to be knowledge-driven term, that not just to be consumed, but to be produced, challenged, and circulated. And that is exactly what we are doing today. And Arkia, try to bring forth that spearhead, that focus to output-driven And one of our initiative is to produce or establish and publish ARCIA Startup Practice Blueprint that not only aim to young architects, but maybe older or mid-career architects or mid-career firm or career practices that want to reinvent themselves to be prepared with the world, with artificial intelligence will be part of our professions. And I think this cross-border knowledge sharing is super important, especially we are about to reshape and redefine what the profession is all about. I think this is a pivotal moment for us to really take charge, especially young architects, to really relook and have the opportunity to, again, shape it or mirror to your particular belief and challenges in order for the profession to live on in the next decade. So with that, I thank the speakers and the hosts for having us today, and we look forward to the meaningful session ahead. That is all for me today. Until we meet again next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Architect Kawarismi, for your warm welcome and for your support for this webinar. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the next session, we are honored to have it presented by the representative for Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia Chapter Yogyakarta. Please welcome Ms. Architect Primavera Desta, who will walk us through the upcoming programs, speaker highlights, and key insight of the event. To Ms. Architect Primavera Desta, the time is yours.
Thank you so much, Architect Hana. Again, thank you so much. Today is again very wonderful in this really become a international webinar series, and all the participants and all the committee are really supporting this webinar. But this is just a part. This is just a roadshow to our main event. So let me introduce our main event, which will be held in July. So of course, on behalf of IAI Yogyakarta chapter, we are hoping that everybody, especially here, the participants and everybody to also join us to this architecture festival. I'm Primavera Desta and I'm representing IAI Yogyakarta chapter. Today I am very pleased to introduce an exciting upcoming international architecture event, the collaboration project between IAI Yogyakarta and Qhomemart, which will take place from 23rd to 26th July 2026. This collaboration brings together architects, designers, academics, and wider public through a series of architectural programs under the theme When Architecture Listens, Designing for Communities. So this theme reflects a very important shift in contemporary architecture from architecture as an object to architecture as a dialogue with people, culture, and environment. Go to the next slide, please. And the collaboration between IAI Yogyakarta and the Qhomemart aims to create a platform that the collaboration can connect architecture with society, industry, and creative collaboration. So during these 4 days, we will host several programs, including the book launch of world-renowned architect Rafiq Azam from Bangladesh, and the architecture exhibitions, international talk shows, art collaborations, architecture competition, architecture clinics, and also a feng shui talk session, which is currently being finalized. Each of the programs is designed to bring together professional architects, students, communities, and industry partners to exchange ideas and explore how architecture can respond to contemporary urban challenges. Next, please. So one of the key highlights of this event is the international talk shows, where we invite renowned architects from across Asia. And our keynote speaker will be Professor Architect Rafiq Azam from Bangladesh. And joining him are 3 distinguished invited speakers, Architect Rebecca Vanessa Relosa from the Philippines, Architect Alan Chung from Hong Kong, and Architect Zana Chui from Bangladesh. So each speakers bring a different perspective or architecture, ranging from tropical design, sustainable architecture, placemaking, urban innovation, and community engagement. Through this international dialogue, we hope to create cross-cultural learning and collaboration within the architecture community in Asia. Next, please. And another major highlight of this event is the book launch of architect Rafiq Azam, which will take place on 25th July as part of the program. And this is the documentation of his first book launch in Sydney last month, which was held in Sydney Opera House. This book launch will be held internationally, including Indonesia, particularly in our beloved city, Yogyakarta, with the main theme of connecting creativity. So these are, next please, yeah. These are the coordinators of the book launch, international book launch. Next, please. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, so these are the maps of the cities and the countries which this book launch will be held internationally, 2026 and 2027. And the next, please. These are the photos of the coordinators of each cities, and those are contributing on the book itself. So next, please. Yeah, then Rafiq Azam itself is a highly respected Bangladeshi architect and the principal architect of Chateau architecture for green living in Dhaka. His work is widely known for its sensitive response to the tropical climate and dense urban environments. Next, please. And these are some of his projects. Aga Khan Academy in Dhaka, Bangladesh. This is the SA residence, the right side. And next, please. This is the, I think the latest one, that is just finished of the constructions. This is ambassador residence in Bhutan, Bangladeshi ambassador residence in Bhutan. Yeah, next, please. And during the sessions, participants will be able to join several activities, including the official book unveiling ceremony, the presentations from the speakers about his design philosophy, the panel discussion, the Q&A with the session, the Q&A session, and the book signings, and of course the networking receptions, and also special exhibition and film screening. So this event will be a rare opportunity for architects and students in Indonesia, especially who are coming to Yogyakarta, to engage directly with one of the leading voices in tropical architecture. Next, please. And in addition to the keynote session, the international talks will also feature several inspiring architects. First, we are going to have architect Sanat Chui from Bangladesh also. She is a sustainability strategist as well. She is currently served as a head of design at Chateau Architecture for Green Living, and she's also the founder of Sanat Chui Architects. Her work focuses on sustainable architecture, luxury residential design, and landscape architecture, combining environmental awareness with refined spatial design. And then next, we have Alan from Hong Kong. Yeah, he is the co-founder and managing director of One Byte Design Studio, a firm specializing in placemaking and urban design innovation. Alan's work explores how architecture can activate public spaces and strengthen community interaction within cities. His professional experience include working in New York, London, Hong Kong, and also bringing a global perspective to urban design. And finally, we have architect Rebecca Vanessa Relosa from the Philippines. She is the CEO of SRF Innovative Solution and also a lecturer at National University Fairview in Manila. Her professional work focuses on residential architecture that integrates natural surroundings and environmental contexts. She's also actively involved in academia and architectural education, including serving as a reviewer for Design Studio. So through this collaboration between IAI, Yogyakarta especially, and Qhomemart, supported by ACYA and Arcasia, we hope to create a platform where architecture can engage more closely with the society. Architecture today is not only about buildings, but also about communities, environment, culture, and future cities. So we warmly invite everybody, architects, students, researchers, design enthusiasts to join us in this event from 23rd until 26th July 2026 in Yogyakarta. Let us explore together how architecture can truly listen, respond, and design for communities. Thank you very much, and we look forward to welcoming you all at the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Architect Primavera Desta, for the wonderful overview. And once again, we warmly invite you all participants to join the Mantra Expo 2026 in Yogyakarta. As she said earlier, this is a rare opportunity, so it will be a great opportunity to experience this program firsthand. This event will not have been possible without the generous support of our sponsor, Qhomemart, si pasti lengkap. Next, please. So we will now move to a short session from our sponsor. Please enjoy this video presentation from Qhomemart.
Setiap konstruksi adalah cerminan impian besar, dimulai dari rencana kecil hingga megahnya gedung pencakar langit. Kami hadir untuk membangun masa depan bersama. Berdiri sebagai supplier bahan bangunan dan perlengkapan rumah terbesar dan terpercaya, selamat datang di Qhomemart, partner terbaik dalam bisnis dan konstruksi Anda. Selama lebih dari 17 tahun, Qhomemart telah menjadi pilihan utama masyarakat sebagai supplier bahan bangunan terpercaya, terbesar, dan terlengkap. Dengan lebih dari 900 brand dan 2.000 produk berkualitas, Qhomemart menjamin keaslian produk dan menyediakan tim profesional yang siap melayani dan memberikan solusi bagi kebutuhan Anda. Belanja hemat waktu, produk lengkap dari perencanaan hingga finishing. Qhomemart memberikan pelayanan terbaik untuk Anda. Di antaranya adalah layanan pengiriman dengan armada yang siap menjangkau ke seluruh Indonesia, stok produk yang melimpah, dan memastikan kebutuhan Anda selalu terpenuhi tanpa kompromi. Menjual produk dan memastikan kepuasan pelanggan adalah tujuan kami. Memberikan layanan after sales dengan proses klaim garansi yang mudah hingga ketersediaan spare part untuk kenyamanan Anda adalah keunggulan kami. Qhomemart telah mendapat pengakuan melalui berbagai penghargaan dan sertifikasi, sehingga dipercaya menyuplai ribuan proyek nasional termasuk proyek-proyek ikonik di seluruh Indonesia. Bagaimana Qhomemart di mata pelanggan dan mitra?
Kami sudah berteman, bermitra, berpartner dengan Qhomemart sudah cukup lama, lebih dari 10 tahun.
Pilihannya banyak, pelayanannya juga bagus, sangat membantu kita saat kita kesulitan mencari barang atau bahan.
Ini adalah toko yang menurut kami besar, sehingga kami mengamati juga produknya juga lengkap. Dari situlah kita mulai dan ternyata bekerja sama tuh berlanjut sampai hari ini.
Saya mengenal Qhomemart kurang lebih 15 tahun yang lalu. Pengalaman saya memilih kerjasama dengan Qhomemart karena di samping kualitas produk yang ditawarkan sangat bagus dan juga servis pelayanannya yang sangat ramah luar biasa mengenai ketepatan pengiriman dan juga sales yang ramah-ramah.
Qhomemart memiliki semua yang kami butuhkan. Yang paling penting adalah salah satu yang menjadikan kami memiliki Qhomemart adalah selama ini ada jaminan suplai. Qhomemart memiliki gudang yang sangat representatif sehingga kami tidak perlu lagi khawatir tentang suplai barang itu.
Yang kita sukai membantu kita lah dalam mencari material yang baru, juga ketersediaan barangnya juga selalu ada.
Produk-produk yang kami perlukan dan itu ada dan sebagian besar terpenuhi. Kita happy sekali karena apa? Kualitas itu berbanding dengan harga yang baik, pelayanannya dan delivery time kalau kita harus order sebelumnya itu kami merasa puas. Qhomemart
pasti lengkap.
Terus berkembang dan berinovasi, Qhomemart berkomitmen untuk memberikan nilai yang luar biasa, kualitas yang tidak tertandingi, layanan yang istimewa, dan membangun kemitraan yang kuat juga berkontribusi pada masa depan yang lebih sejahtera bagi semua pelanggan, komunitas, dan industri. Tunggu apa lagi?
Hubungi akun eksekutif kami dan mari tumbuh besar bersama Qhomemart, the best partner and solution for your business and construction.
Thank you for the informative presentation, Qhomemart. And once again, we appreciate the support from Qhomemart from making this event possible. Now, let us continue with the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the main session of today's webinar. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Architect Kartian Smaralili, AAI. He is a lecturer in architecture at UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, and a registered architect, as well as a member of Ikatan Arsitek Indonesia. He actively engaged in both architectural and education and professional practice, bringing together academic insight and real-world experience in his work. His research and professional interests include architectural design and project management, with a strong focus on human-centered and mindful design approach. Throughout his career, he has contributed to various academic publications and has been actively involved in conferences, seminars, and architectural forums at both national and international level. His work explored themes such as biophilic architecture, mindfulness in design, and strategies to improve well-being through the built environment. In addition, he is also engaged in community-based and professional projects, including sustainability development and architectural planning initiatives, demonstrating his commitment to applying architecture for broader social impact. With his strong academic background, professional experience, and passion for meaningful design, we are confident he will guide today's discussion with clarity and insight. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Architect Kartian Smaralili, AAI. Mr. Lili, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Architect Hana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Architect Erlangga Winoto, Chairman of IAI Yogyakarta Chapter, Architect Kwarismi as a Chairman of Arcasia Committee on Young Architect, and Mr. Hengki Sampati from Qhomemart, and all of the 90 participants here today with us. My name is Kartian Semara Lilih Purnaumbara. You can call me Lilih. I am an architect and a lecturer at Architecture UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta, and I am an IAI Yogyakarta Chapter Council member and architect at Atelier LDR Plus. Today, I am honored to moderate this discussion with the theme Architecture Beyond Borders, Practice, People, and Responsibility. I think today's theme is highly relevant because today rapidly changing built environment where architecture is no longer confined within geographical and disciplinary boundaries, but more deeply connected to its social impact, cultural identity, and global challenges. This is why I think learning from practices in neighboring countries, such as today we are learning from Singapore, becomes more and more important, not to replicate, but to understand different approaches, to understand the system, and to understand different way of thinking that may have evolved under distinct contexts. At the same time, this cross-border insight invite us to reflect more critically on our condition and in Indonesia, especially, and other regions, maybe, recognizing both our limitation and our own unique opportunities in our own country, so that we can develop more grounded, more context-sensitive, and more responsible architectural responses moving forward in this profession. And it is my pleasure today to introduce to our distinguished speaker today, Architect Chio Wentian, also known as Wentian. Wentian is a Singapore-based architect and principal architect at Chio Architect, as well as founder of Monopoly Studio, both established in 2019. Beyond his practices, he is already contributing to architectural community, currently serving as council member of Singapore Institute of Architect or SIA and co-chair of its international committee. He has also played a key role nurturing young architects, having chaired SIA Young Architect League and represented Singapore in regional platforms such as Arcadia. Wen Tian's work has received wide recognition, including prestigious honors such as Singapore Design Award Grand Winner, Tatler Home Design Award, and Best Adaptive Reuse category, and the Singapore Good Design Award. Most recently, he was named among 30 Singapore influential interior designer in 2025, highlighting his growing impact in this field. The way I see it, his project reflect a true strong commitment to design innovations, community engagement, and adaptive reuse, demonstrating how architecture can meaningfully transform everyday spaces. We are truly honored to have him with us today to share his insight and experience. So, without further ado, please join me in warmly welcoming Architect Chio Wentian. Mr. Wentian, you have 45 minutes to present your presentation, okay? And for the participants, if you want to ask some question, can ask through chat box, or you can ask question during the presentation, after the presentation during the Q&A session. You can ask both in Bahasa or in English. I will help to communicate the question to Mr. Wentian during the Q&A session. Mr. Wentian, are you ready to present?
Yes. Lilio, can you hear me?
Okay, the screen is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Architect Lilio. First of all, I would like to say a very good afternoon to our sponsor, Director Henki Qhomemart, Chairman of II Yogyakarta Studio, Yogyakarta Sector, Ilanga, Architect Ilanga, Architect Korismi, Chairman of ACYA, Architect Lilio, moderator for today's session, and Architect Desta, my friend. Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone, and really, I think it is, firstly, I'd like to express my thanks to the organizers, Yogyakarta, for inviting me to be a part of this Mantra Expo. When Desta invited me and told me about this expo, I wanted to present in person. I wanted to join you all in July, but it's actually clashed with Archifest in July. That's really unfortunate. So I thought, if there's such a platform to be able to share my thoughts across this border through this Zoom session, it's a wonderful opportunity. So without further ado, let me just jump right into it. Thank you, Architect. Again, that was a wonderful sharing of my background, and indeed, I am the principal architect of Architects and founder of Monopoly Studio. Currently, actually, I'm also the co-chair for SIA Institution Trust. And this year, I am interested to make the Singapore Institute of Architects an even stronger one and bringing together the members through different institutional opportunities. And this will be my new challenge for SIA this year. Okay, so the topic I'm interested to share with all of you today is actually architecture beyond borders. Okay, beyond borders, because I thought today in architecture, we can't be looking at architecture within our context. And in fact, Singapore is so small. And learning architecture, you really have to take a very global stance, a global lens to look at how everyone else across the region, across the world, is tackling issues such as sustainability issues. And currently, of course, now we are very much into understanding, designing from the ground, social aspects of it. So architecture beyond borders, it really breaks the boundary, and which I thought is really applicable for today's sharing session. Practice, people, and responsibility are three keywords that I would like to explore in my sharing today also. So let's look at the context of today's situation, right? Singapore, Indonesia. I'd just like to put the context across, and so that everyone is understanding of how this young Singapore architect approach architecture in our homeland, Singapore. So this is really a map of our footprint of our country. And if you were to be very cheeky and you would tell me that, hey, that's not to scale, Singapore is pretty small. But come on, so let's compare it in this way, all right? The land area is actually 735 square kilometers versus the huge land mass of 1.9 million square kilometers. But that's really a huge size difference. And if you look at it in zoom in to a city level in the Jakarta province, it's really around 3,133 square kilometers. That's roughly 4.25 multiplier of scale in Singapore. So I just wanted everyone to look at this to give a sense of questions of how is there a difference in how architects practice in Singapore, and is there a way how architects in Indonesia practice? So this is where I would like to start the comparison in terms of the context. In Singapore, it's highly regulated. There's standardized urban fabric driven by planning efficiency, whereas the strength of Indonesia is actually rich vernacular architecture shaped by climate, culture, and local materials. Those are our uniqueness in our built environment, and those are what architects in our own context have to dabble with and deal with. And of course, Singapore heavy reliance on mechanical cooling despite tropical climate. Though there are improvements in strategies to try to improve our sustainable approach, where Indonesia, this is where we learn from all of you guys that very fantastic passive design strategies, very apparent through all the architectural works and recent award-winning works, natural ventilation, deep overhangs, breathable materials. And in some aspects, I always tell my friends, the wonderful expanse of opportunities in terms of material exploration in Indonesia is really fantastic. That's why looking at some of your images and photos of projects, I will always be slightly envious of it. But of course, as mentioned, this is really a different context. In Singapore, we also have a highly controlled master plan zoning, density control, long-term land strategy. Whereas Indonesia the city tends to grow organically, resulting in a very layered characteristic, informal urban condition. Whereas in Singapore, we have very strong industrialized construction methods. We try to push for productivity, PVC, precast, prioritizing speed, efficiency, and quality control. Whereas in Indonesia, you guys are still very, very strong with your traditional craftsmanship, hand-built detailing, and artisan expressions. Even in current day-to-day context of interiors, we still do tend to see such expressions of very strong craftsmanship and details in terms of the design expression. So far seems like I have been expressing a lot of differences, but in today's Singapore, we also lean towards contemporary aesthetics with subtle cultural references. Whereas Indonesia is also still very strong in expressing the strong cultural identity and symbolism. So despite our different contexts, I feel that deep down as architects, our values and instincts are more aligned than we think. Though we're dealing with context and scale and size of our cities and different challenges, I think as architects, we still do have very common spirit and common attitude towards our built environment. So if I were to ask you to do a quick sketch of a human today, just really an experiment, I'm not going to ask you to sketch right now, okay? But I'm sure you're not going to sketch something like that, right? The form is too strong, and I don't think this is what you go for. Also, you won't be sketching in such a manner. We're not comics artists. And also not in this human anatomy kind of way. So I would like to think that the humans that you guys would kind of sketch would look something like that. Okay, so what I'm trying to use this analogy is to show that actually, as architects which I believe in Indonesia, your core itself, architect, we do have a certain set of sensibilities across this region, and even in different countries, we have our common pursuit of architects for beauty, function, identity, innovation, sustainability, delight, survival, and brilliance. So I think we actually do have many things in common, though we are across borders. So today I'm going to explore that, and hopefully through my sharing, we can understand more about the way we practice across the borders. And of course, I would like to also learn from all of you, perhaps at the end in the sharing session, of how you see, how practices, how we as architects practice across these different contexts. So let me focus on the three keywords today. I would like to share the practice. I feel that as the practice, if you have a practice, we are always in control of how we practice our focus, and we define the definition of success of the practice. And it is a choice. And I think this is very powerful freedom of determining how you want to practice in your local context. You can be a firm that fully focuses on, detail-driven design aesthetics and award-winning as a certain kind of angle. But I think we have to have the broader perspective of this in terms of the responsibility that we have for the greater community. And of course, the community that I mentioned, we are always in service of them. Our works affect them in their day-to-day. And of course, I would like to always think that we craft their day-to-day memories. When everyone looks back in terms of their memories, we have a certain backdrop. And that is always understated. That backdrop is what we create for them. So in everyone's day-to-day memory, they have their own sense of being, but at the back, there is an environment and atmosphere and a setting that is crafted by architects. And responsibility, a huge word today for architects, who the people rely on us, on our unique skill set and expertise to craft a more livable future than what we have today. So with this, I'd like to zoom in on this topic of how architect in Singapore define his role in society and community. So I talked about success earlier. So success is, I'm lucky enough to be able to run my own practice. And in today's setting in Singapore, I feel that as architects, we have to break away from the norm of what not the usual expectation of what society requires of us, which is really true understanding of aesthetic brilliance. But we also have to go beyond that and to understand our community and to go to them to understand their needs, to understand how they feel in terms of creating how the projects that we craft in our day-to-day. So in today's sharing, I'd like to draw your attention to these six stakeholders, and I would like to say these are actually the communities that we serve actually in my projects. The first one, servicemen; second one, sightseers; third one, historian; fourth, toddler; fifth, residents; and the last one, homeowners. So without further ado, let me get straight into it. The first one is an exciting one, servicemen. All right. So servicemen is an interesting one because it's a very specific target audience. They are actually in Singapore, actually, youngsters between 17 and 18, we serve our nation. We come through, we drop everything, we drop our education, we drop everything to enter this thing called national service. So some of us goes to army, some of us goes to policemen, some of us goes to become firemen. And this acts as the forces to support Singapore's forces in terms of military, police, and firefighting forces. And this is the target audience that I'm lucky enough in one of my projects I've been able to focus my attention on. So back when I was in DP, back in roughly around 2000 and I believe 15, or a year after I graduated, I have been given the opportunity to go through a design competition to design the new clubhouse for these servicemen. So we have to start to think about how clubhouses are crafted in the past. So I'm showing you these two images because these are actually the typology of clubhouses that we have in Singapore back in roughly around 1980. So the characteristics that you see over here are, pitch roofs, tiled roofs. They are generally in a setting that is away from the neighborhood and tend to have exclusive functions such as golf courses and tennis courts. They tend to move away from general public and create a setting where it's exclusive, that is private, and that is how this approach. A clubhouse has to be exclusive. So, given the opportunity, when I was in DP as a young architect with the team, of course, we came together to tackle this. And lucky enough, this is also another kind of a typology of a clubhouse that evolved from the 1980s. It starts to move towards the heartland, but it still tends to look slightly inwards, and the emphasis is always on the facilities. So back in 2015, I was given the opportunity to look at this site in Yishun. The strategy by management of Home Team NS, which is body issuing this design competition, gave us a very interesting brief, which is to push this clubhouse into the community, right beside our HDBs, right beside our parks. In this case, right beside an MRT tracks, which is within roughly around 10 minutes walk from the MRT station. So this is really a breakthrough in terms of trying to break the typology and the norm that we have understanding of a clubhouse. So this is the competition board. Eventually, I'll show you the final design. This is the competition board, and of course, we immediately wanted to break that borders of the clubhouse. And as you can see in this plan, this site plan, we have wanted to let the gardens spill and come into the building and create a connection into its urban surroundings. It's almost as if the greens are reaching out and hugging and embracing the building. That was original intent. And of course, there are certain key strategies that we have adopted. We had wanted to create this clubhouse as a core urban retreat. And some of these key strategies that we have done is actually in the next slide. We wanted to create a volume and with a specific programmatic organization in a way such that the park is closer to the open area of this building. We had wanted, of course, the different forms to join each other and create. What's important is this number 4 strategy of a heritage gallery. So it is, like we mentioned, that it is not a club that is bounded by walls. We wanted the public to come in to see for themselves, to get an understanding of what the servicemen do, and of course, in a way, to show appreciation for the servicemen. And in the front of it, we wanted a very strong facade and frontage that gives a certain characteristics to the public of certain characteristics that represents the servicemen to the public. So this was the original draft that we presented in the design competition. It is we're trying to break the form. We're trying to create this blocks where it's interjoined. And of course, there is a part that is adjoining it, and with it, a very accessible pool beside it. And we wanted a grand entrance that, again, showcasing the embrace of welcoming of the public into a building to celebrate the servicemen's achievements. Of course, we have to draw inspiration from past heritage buildings, and in this case, if you have been to Singapore, this facade of an old fire station, this is right beside Funan. This actually is a very strong image in Singaporeans' mind about how it used to be. There's this red bricks with white space facades. Then we wanted to use this facade on the floor to create this wonderful floor pattern across this building to, in a way, spark certain memories and relation to an old past. And the broad strokes of the different axes has different meanings and different strategies of how things are put together. And we start to be tricky about and playful about the materials that we are using. And when during the competition stage, we are thinking of drums, fire hose drills. You're thinking of laying the hose drills out, things where you wouldn't usually see these materials used as architectural materials, but in this case, it's fitting because it is, after all, a building meant for these servicemen. Of course, many of these walls will be heritage walls, and we wanted to showcase different histories and heritage across many different public domains and surfaces. So essentially, if we really want to break it down into this challenge of this building, is how can a building embody the spirit of our servicemen, the strength, the resilience, unity, while instilling pride, honor, and gratitude. So this is when we start to listen to what really the servicemen require. Actually, as an NS man, when you serve our country, Singapore, it is a huge sacrifice for us to take 2 years of our time when we are in our prime, in our youth, to come and halt and serve our nation. And this is something that Singaporeans actually do proudly, and it's something that defines our national sense of identity. So the way architects can contribute and give back to defend this kind of sense of identity is through a building that represents them well, a building where they can bring their family to enjoy. And this is something that I think is powerful of an architect, that we can craft spaces that allow them to feel appreciated. So then we move on to the design strategy of the actual building. Okay, that was the design competition. And for those who have done design competition, would know quite well that generally you keep some of the key strokes of a design competition that are well received by the panels, and then you start to rethink and design something that is even more refined than your competition scheme. So what I'm going to present next is what the team has done. Home Team NS, this is actually their logo. And if you look at their logo, there is this T that is sharing this inverted L. So the team, this was done by DP Architects, the team thought that we wanted this to symbolize the kind of solidarity, the unity of policemen and firemen. So how do we do that? So we started to play with the facade. We wanted to showcase this exploration of this T and extrapolate this in a way such that it can open up and it can also close in. And if you look at it from totality in terms of a facade, it starts to show a sense of closeness, a sense of unity that we want to express in this building. And so the client thought they love this strategy of designing this facade that represents them and actually represents the spirit of Home Team NS. And we start to, do our sketches. Okay, these sketches are really done way a long time ago. Yeah, I had to dig out my sketchbook and for this presentation. But this is important because every architect has your own design process, but it shows the essence of what you think through. And if it's really eventually presented in the final works, there is a certain sense of pride and satisfaction. So the boss and the team discussed and wanted the columns to represent the servicemen standing side by side. So that is a huge strategy that the team leader, Sensen, architect Sensen, my boss, thought of. And this is then a key design strategy. As you can see at the bottom, standing together side by side, and we start to craft and want this column to be a feature of this building. And of course, I mentioned just now those two key forces, which is firemen and the policemen. We are overlapping these two main bodies. So we are playing with the forms and overlapping the building forms. Okay, so we start to play with the right scale of the module. And this is my sketch of my boss who wanted to play with the protrusion of this inverted T. It's really a very thorough design process because how the protrusion of each module, it affects the final look of the clubhouse. And I think eventually we got it right. And he also, my boss, Sensen, also included certain lines on this module to make it more sophisticated, a certain expression. So I won't be showing you the whole process. I will show you the end angle. And after 3 years, this was the end results. Okay, this I must mention again that this credit goes to DP Architects. This was my previous firm. As you can see, this on the right side is the columns, the expression of the columns that I mentioned. And if you squint your eyes, it almost seems as if there are certain people standing side by side in a certain solidarity manner. So that's something I thought we achieved, and that's quite unique in Singapore setting. And the scale of it is really quite magnificent. As you can see at the bottom, that's the real human size. And when you are really there on site, this building really welcomes you in a way that I haven't seen any other things in Singapore done. Okay, on the left side, you can see that subtle closure of the facade, showing the modules coming together, showing a certain sense of solitude and solidarity in this building. So different angles. I apologize for the lack of resolution here. Let me very quickly bring you through the different parts. This angle is really important because it starts to show the different overlapping layers of the building and integrating, so sort of to showcase the two bodies coming together, the firemen and the policemen. All right. If the external facade is almost like a box, we have wanted to craft the internal body of this building to showcase something that the servicemen are very proud of. So this is the axis that you look at when you're entering the clubhouse. It is tremendously porous, open, and as you can see on the right and the left side is a public display of the headwear of these servicemen over the years of this policemen and NS and firemen. And in fact, we have been able to wear the first headdress that back in 1950s, I believe, that these firemen and policemen wear in their service time. And it really pays homage to these servicemen in Singapore, and it gives a very strong heritage axis here. This is another angle, and we've used the cotton steel to express this steps. But really, there are different aspects of architecture that we also have to deal with, which is the fun part. It's not just expressing the design aspiration, but in this case, the huge void is able to accommodate this play area of this 3 stories play area with huge slides and different challenging courses across. And really, when it's done, the servicemen not only play this themselves, they also bring their family members over here, and truly it becomes a clubhouse that belongs to the servicemen. And an architecture without the people and coming to it, enjoying different festival moments, it's really missing the point, right? So every architectural shot must, that's why I wanted to include something that shows the interaction of the people who brings, the servicemen who brings their family here to spend meaningful occasions at this space that architects have crafted. And this is another photo of people just using, coming to this open platform to use, and just lying down on the beanbag to watch the National Day celebration at 9th August every year. So truly, it becomes a clubhouse that is enjoyed by all, but not only that, it is showing and giving back to our servicemen who deserves a place to call a home. And in this case, this shot really symbolizes the essence of the spirit of what we are trying to do, which is to give back to these servicemen for their sacrifice of their time of 2 years to the nation. So indeed, servicemen, we understand the pride, the honor, and we wanted to thank them. So indeed, as architects, we have to understand this end user requirements, this community in this case, a serviceman, what do they aspire in a building, and try to, on behalf of them, understand their requirement and represent them in the build form. And in this case, I thought the team at DP had a wonderful execution, and that was a very beautiful project. So that is just one of the target audience I wanted to share today, servicemen. But let's move on to the second target audience. Okay, a community. This community that I'm targeting is called the sightseers. In other words, the tourists. Okay, so what does the tourist require in a certain building? The tourists actually wants moments. They want their Instagram moments. They want their a delightful moment when they enter the building. They want a sense of privacy away from the bustling surrounding. I'm saying this because the next site, it brings us away from Singapore. It brings us to Ho Chi Minh City, which is my first overseas project that I've done from True Architects. But before that, I would just like to share a very interesting, a quick story about after I left DT, which, I left the project, I came out to my own practice, which one of the first projects is actually this. This is Ola Beach Club. It's just a tenant unit, but after I delivered the whole project, the tenant, Ola Beach Club's owner, were really happy with the process and the service. And they told me, hey, Matian, I want to bring you overseas to explore and expand the business. So as a young architect and practitioner, of course, you'll be very excited at the opportunity, right? But that was before COVID happened, right? That was right before COVID happened. And once COVID happened, this client didn't contact me at all, and I thought the opportunity was lost. But one day, the boss called me after COVID and told me that there's an opportunity in Ho Chi Minh City. And in a very short, quick moment in time, I think the call came this week, and the next week, she flew me down to Ho Chi Minh City to look at this site that we have in Ho Chi Minh City. So this next project, I'd like to share with you is an exciting one. So this is the first shot that we took when we came down. They brought their head chef, they brought their business manager, their finance team, their operation manager, and of course the boss. We came down to try to recce and find the suitable site for this project. But they have shortlisted one they thought had a very huge potential, and which is right next to this very, very iconic landmark in Ho Chi Minh City. If you have been there with your wife, friends, they may have highlighted this as an Instagram-worthy shot. So this is the corner unit for this project. It's actually a residential block combined with a shop. It's a two-unit that the owner wanted to combine into one. That is fronting this pink church. So the owner was very blunt in the requirement in terms of the ambition. He told me that I want this to be Instagram worthy. So as architect, remember this was my first overseas project, and I had to live up to the expectation to design something that is immediately Instagram worthy. So as designers, you have to then understand what is the essence of being Instagram worthy. But I'll bring you through the next slide, and I will tell you my interpretation of how to make this plot Instagram worthy. But one of the key strategies, of course, to be a very good neighbor to this pink church, okay? Because we're right next to it. So when we were there, what's interesting is that everyone is just taking their phone and taking a selfie with the church as the background. So they are ignoring this building that we have at this corner. So one of my immediate thought and challenge is I want at the end of this project that they will be taking selfies, not with just the pink church as the background, but also this new building as the background. So this is the existing building that we have to dabble with. It's actually a residential block, 3 floors. It has very strong facade linear lines that we wanted to keep, because after all, the business coming to take over a building has financial sensibilities that they need to take care of. In short, limited budget. Okay, every designer knows that very well when they hear the brief from the clients. Okay, this is at the bottom. This is the shop. I remember it was an optical shop. We went in to see. It's really dark. It's really quite a sad place at this corner. So on the highest level, so this is where we were all quite excited at the opportunities of this unit. There is this rooftop. There are this kind of columns that are hanging across. Then immediately I was thinking to myself, these horizontal column beams have to go, eventually have to go, because this will be one of the iconic shots of this project, that we want them to take a portrait shot so that they can frame the building with them, of course, the human with their nice clothes in the foreground, and with this as background. So let's look at the plan. So this is the two buildings, two plots that we have together. So very quickly, one of the key strategies is wanting to break down that external wall and to break down the walls that divides the two units, because we want to combine this into one single restaurant. Okay, so yep. Oh, I forgot to mention that actually the owner's business is F&B. All right, he wants to bring in a Hawaiian concept F&B into this unit, with bar and restaurant and nice dining. So we turn level 1. We try to remove some of these walls, and we have very clearly segregated the different zonings into 1, 2, 3. 1 being an external area, external courtyard. 2 being the level 1's cafe. 3 being the service portion of this building, which is where the kitchens will be and the stores will be. And we start to craft the different zoning of this building. After all, it's an adaptive strategy. We have kept columns intact and tried to play with it and try to create a sensible layout that works for this business. Slowly we start to craft it out, and of course we had wanted to. If you look at the side on the right side of it, there is this slant line that is cutting across that actually aligns the view of the church. So we wanted that those people sitting in the garden setting, they will be looking at the church. And slowly, this is level 2. This is the original plan of level 2. And there is external corridors that, honestly, no one uses. And it's really such a waste of space. We wanted to push this space out, so we maximize the usable area on level 2. And slowly start to carve out seatings on the perimeters of this building, such that they are able to create different zones for their dining experience. There's a secondary kitchen on the left side and a huge dining area here. This eventually turns out to be a prime area for this unit, because it is exactly in front of the Pink Church, and this is always where it's always booked out. And this is always where the clients, the customers, when they come, they will request for this area, the dining area on level 2. And we went straight to it. It was a very, attention to you, it was a very rushed project. When I got the call to when the project was done, it was all within 6 months. So within that short period, again, as mentioned, I felt that I had to deliver this project as a young architect who has their first project overseas. I have to deliver it. It's a wonderful opportunity. I must show my ability to transform this into something that fits the clients and the end users' requirement, which is a beautiful restaurant that they will want to come to. That is, of course, befitting of the theme, which is a Hawaiian restaurant. So we went on to remove the walls. And what's interesting is halfway through, we realized that, hey, the columns are not strong enough for it. And we went through a few weeks of strengthening of the columns. As you can see in this case, there were additional formwork done to strengthen the existing columns. And we built certain planters around the columns. And really, the strategy for this adaptive reuse is really understanding what the original building is and trying to accommodate it and trying to respect what it has and trying to have certain design sensibility such that the eventual design looks like it's old design but improved version of the design. So this vertical columns at the external, we have played up fins to express it, and then in the middle of it, we have added windows to it. So coming from overseas in Singapore, where things are generally clean construction aesthetic, which is as you can see in the previous project, generally not so rustic. The materials that we use are generally refined. In this case, I have wanted to really understand what the locals use and understand what the locals do with their cafes. And we went around, and truly enough, Ho Chi Minh City, if you have not been there, have many, many wonderful cafes. They are using wonderful materials, local materials, sustainable materials, bamboo, a material that I'm sure Indonesian architects are very familiar with and expert on. And in my case, I have wanted to use their local brick. I wanted to, of course, a material that is easily expressed with their side look. And then we started to play with it, how a brick can perform in different lighting and different protrusions. We not only want to use the front, we also want to use the side, which has this horizontal line. So, and then we start to play out the rattan, and this is also, again, remember the angle is a restaurant that is befitting of a Hawaiian restaurant. So, again, then we started to use this kind of polo blocks. And of course, not forgetting this surfboards, which is very interesting because it immediately gives that sense of Hawaii. You're being Hawaii. Eventually, we put these surfboards in the stairwell and in the toilets. But we are lacking of at this point, we are lacking of a key design stroke that makes this a unique project. So the team, my partner and I, were thinking of how then to use these waves in Hawaii waters as inspiration for the ceiling. So we then went to look at the different kinds of waves in Hawaii, and then we realized that there are different tones and different intensity of the wave in Hawaii, and this is where people and families play with the sand and water. And of course, if you are a bit adventurous, you take a surfboard and you chase after the waves. And of course, if you are even more of a daredevil, you would let the wave chase you in this method. Right. So this is then the inspiration that we have wanted to use fabrics, the local fabric, to create different designs. Sorry, it's not jumping. I've forgotten that this is a PNG, but I've used PDF for this. I'll get straight to it. It's okay. In the next slide, you'll see the angle. But what is important here is the usage of a local material that is produced in Vietnam. We had wanted to use something that is very relevant to them, and we went to this fabric market in Ho Chi Minh City. I remember before we went there, in our mind is we have to look for a hue of blue that looks like the Hawaii water. So when we arrive at this fabric market, as you can see, the types of colors that they offer is not wonderful and doesn't fit the design requirement of the intention. So we really went on half a day went on the different shops to find the appropriate fabric. And this is a really interesting, and it's a true story, that only at the last shop, we really wanted to call it quits and think of other ways to get the fabric. Only at the last shop of this fabric market that we found the fabric hue of the colors that we like. And immediately we asked the shop owner whether there's enough stock for it, and they have enough stock for it. And happily, we brought back a few layers, a few samples of this, and we are very pleased with the selection of the 3 colors of these pale colors. And we started to went on to the mock-up for the ceiling. Level 1 is this linear expression. Level 2 is this V-shape hanging with a weight hanging, and to form this ceiling. And slowly, I think this is within the 4th month from the phone call, we start to craft and create something that is slowly befitting of the reputation of the Pink Church. And slowly it comes to life, and start to see this building comes to life. And I would just like to draw your attention to this leaf core at the back. This is the food lift that it brings the food up all the way to level 3. And this is also where we have used perforated mesh on the external to allow the creepers to claw and climb up the building on this external facade. So this is the end goal. And these are the photos taken by the photographers. Yeah, so immediately I thought when we went there after it's done, I alighted from the taxi and I turned my head and I looked back at it. I was actually quite surprised at the outcome. In fact, I would say it surpassed my expectation of what I wanted. I imagined it can be. Immediately, it felt like there is a sense of there's a sense of a transformation that is done to this building that still retains very much of its original qualities of the architecture, and of course, it kind of fits within the budget, slightly over, but it's, I think, manageable. And yeah, the clients generally were very pleased with the outcome, and we are at the cafe opposite this block and looking at it, and I'm very excited with the opening. And this on the left side is the courtyard with the coconut tree farm planted, and this is the level 1 courtyard with the bar and pub. And of course, slowly we'll start to see people using it, and yeah, different spaces. I won't go too much into it. And this is on the right side is the toilet, and we have wanted to craft a sink in a special way. This is we have used the steel panel and we bent it and mounted it on both ends, and such that the water flows down to a drain at the bottom. Yeah, this is level 2 and level 2, and of course, when the highlight of the project is the pink church, right? You should not use any framed window. We have used frameless window such that when you take a shot, everything is perfect. Whoever are there enjoys it. This is level 3. Apologize for the resolution. This is level 3 where the waves are the most exciting. And remember the earlier image that I showed, the horizontal beam that was cutting it is now gone, and it's now replaced by this streak of light. And at night, it lights up the rooftop, and this is still a very popular spot for the tourists to take their photos. And this is the final spot on the roof. Again, I've heard that many of the customers have requested to come to this final level to take their photos. So it started from a building, a residential block, but we have understood the requirements of not just the clients, but we ourselves as the end users, as a sightseer, as a tourist, we understand the requirements of what this building should be. At the end of the day, it should create memories, it should create precious moments with your loved ones. It should become a place where it becomes a highlight of your travel. And at the end of the day, I thought the project achieved to a certain extent what it had set out to do. And that really gives a sense of achievement that solves the question of how can a building be transformed to complement an existing historic landmark while creating moments, delight, and privacy for the sightseers. So this was the original building, and then within 6 months, the transformation, we had turned this into this, which has won a few awards, and which we're really pleased about. So indeed, as an architect, you take care of different communities, and in this case, the sightseers require your attention to skills to craft the moments, delight, and privacy. So let me quickly move on to the next one, historian, and that is my third project. Their focus will be on the history, ambience, and sentiments. In this case, the project brings us back to Singapore in the east side of Singapore in Qhomemart. This is a building that was the Singapore Badminton Stadium. This is a very popular stadium back in the days. This is where competitions are held, Asian Cups are held, and this is where people gather to see the badminton stars in action. So in this case, the client is actually a F&B owner, and who also wants very much to preserve the heritage of the building. And in fact, this has been gazetted as one of the conserved buildings in Singapore. And That's why a lot of the features are not altered. The exact instruction from the urban authorities are not to touch the glass panels, and we have left it as such. So the uniqueness of this building is the interior is actually this cavernous step down look of this interior, and then slowly the owners is actually a pub. They have wanted to create a night life where they can bring their friends together, drink beers and different types of beers. So we have drawn inspiration from this kind of sand dunes and looks, and we hope actually to convey a sense of a thirst in this project, and that's why we are inspired by this reference imagery. And these are some of the strategies that we have done. Step down, and we have created certain light strip and planter boxes. And then to continue the step down of this stairs of the underside of the stadium, and it creates a nice niche for the end users. And that is the general strategy of it. And we get to work and craft the details of it. We wanted shadow gaps such that it looks like the beams are puncturing through the columns. And of course, in this case, local bricks again have been used to craft the seat, the settee. And in this case, yeah, slowly crafting it. And slowly, it's the vision of the design to create a building that conserves an existing building while giving it an added layer of character starts to come alive. And eventually, this serves as popular spots for drinkers. Really, but in this project, really is an expression of the details and crafting of what the existing condition of a unit looks like, and how can details and architectural expression create moments where loved ones can come together, friends can come together to hold their conversation, and eventually, I'd just like to show you the end results. Yep. This is the space in the east side, Qhomemart in Singapore. So eventually, it's not just a building that serves as a memory of the past, but they also added a new layer of it, which is through entertainment, through F&B. And this is the existing building that we have finished. Let me just... Okay, so this shot is what I thought was quite interesting, where if you can see, it's actually look rather old from the external, because some of this window panes are actually in, and we just painted. And the internal glow of this redness of this restaurant starts to glow from the inside, and it attracts passers-by to take a look at this otherwise old building. So, and added layer of understanding of your community, which is through the retention of the history to create the ambience and to create that sense of sentiments of the ex-badminton players in Singapore. So that gives us additional duty as architect to craft this kind of requirements from different users, and that adds to our response. I'll move on to the next target users is toddlers. Toddlers is actually a very unique target audience and community that I designed for to instill a sense of confidence, to erase the sense of fear and joy. And if I show you the next image, you'll be very familiar with what fear I'm talking about. So this is an image of this is not my photo. This is how Singaporeans in the 80s used to learn how to swim. We, jump into the pool, your dad just, grab you along and you learn how to swim. And to some people, it can be quite daunting, though it was a fun time for us. But how do we then, using design, craft a new way of experience for swimming? So this brings us again in the east, in Bedok in Singapore, and this happens to be in one of the industrial unit. And it was actually a warehouse sales unit that we had to convert it. We have to turn this into a new swimming school. So design challenge will be how can design create a comfortable environment for toddlers to learn swimming in a safe setting to overcome their fear. So these have some of the strategies. Retain the foundation and strengthen certain parts of it, and we have kept the equipment at the side and create a deck around it. And this is the sun shelf, and sun shelf is actually a ledge where the kids can lie down because they're not tall enough. So the shallow water is where they can start to learn swimming. And of course, the shower area, and we create this, join these two spaces together and starts to craft what I call is actually a fish tank within an industrial building for happy fishes. And of course, in this case, the fishes are the kids. And we went to craft this fish tanks, and of course, I'll just very quickly show you some of the construction process. And at the front of it, we have created and elevated this water pool and turned it into a steps where the parents, when they are waiting for the kids for the lessons, they have space to sit. And yeah, eventually it looks like that. This is Happy Feet Home, and this is their flagship unit in Bedok. And it kind of introduced a new experience for parents who wants to bring their kids to learn swimming. So now it's actually quite trendy to bring out toddlers, your young baby, maybe from the age of immediately after they're born, maybe at 6 to 9 months, they can start the swimming in a very simple setting. Yeah. So as you can tell at the front, there was a design expression to turn this into a fish. And the fins are at the right and inviting the users in. So we have played with a different tonality of the tiles within it and trying to create a nice underwater experience. And we have also tried to detail it such that the overflow of this water tanks, this pool system, is actually one linear line very neatly across the entire pool. So in fact, the ledge looks like it's hovering on top of the pool. So again, very quickly, I'll show you some of the photos of it. And in this photo, you can start to see the detailed expressions of the overhang water system. And at the end of it, it becomes a home for happy fishes, and different kids swim there. And of course, this is a branch, just a branch. They have many branches in Singapore, then they're expanding even overseas, I believe in Indonesia, Malaysia now. So creating an environment for not just the parents who require a very safe environment where their kids start to learn a life-saving skill, where the coaches feel comfortable to teach. It's what I think the responsibility of designers to have. And when you start seeing these images of how people use the pool, and eventually you know that at the back of their mind, when they remember how they learn to swim, the background and the backdrop of it is what an architect's creation and our own creation, it gives us that sense of satisfaction. So just a reminder that beyond what we see, that we are also creating this kind of beautiful memories for even little kids and young ones. So in this case, it was a fun project. I brought my kids there to learn, and they enjoyed this space that their papa created. So again, fear, confidence, joy, take care of these requirements from this community, which are unique. In this case, toddler and as architect, reacting the different crowds and the different users and users. And the next one, I understand time is running out, and I would like to speed up. This is almost the last few ones. Okay, so this is actually a project that I'm very much very proud of, and this is a project that I think will inspire hopefully local architects to think beyond their responsibility as just design architects because after all, we are serving our community and our residents. So in this case, to create a certain sense of belonging, ownership, and inspiration for residents staying in a community where I used to stay, a district called Yupa. So this is beneath the MRT track. This is where you see a path at the right side. This is where I used to run. This is a path that I used to take every day when I go to work and walk towards the MRT. So there was a time where there was a design competition that was called, and we had wanted to use this as an opportunity to see how architects can transform a space below it. In this case, we have thought of using each of these columns as pillars where they express themselves. In this case, panels of artworks that they are putting onto it. So at this point, you may think that, hey, this is something that we've seen before in our own communities. Indeed, I think I've seen this before in Indonesia. I've seen this before in different communities. But I do understand that in Singapore's context, to have any kind of things on this column requires many stakeholders, clearances, and which resulted in a long process that I'll explain later. So this, to me, looks this MRT columns are actually forming 31% of the on-grade tracks in Singapore. These MRT tracks cutting across the parts of Singapore, and 82% of it actually cuts through residential area. So this, to me, are the urban scars. And in Singapore, underneath these MRT tracks, these park connectors, there are park connectors that connect different parks, and there are cycling paths that connects different parts of the cycling path together. So I thought that when these places coincide, where there is a bicycle track at the bottom and there is a MRT track, there are opportunities to heal and regenerate these scars in Singapore. So then the place that I wanted to try this is in Yuhua. So we have identified different tracks that we have, the types of it. And in this case, it's right opposite a community club. The community club in Singapore is where people gather, the residents gather for community events. And we have identified 8 columns opposite it. And we wanted to turn this into a heartland gallery. So what is interesting about this project is that the team saw that there are this kind of hoarding panels that are used in HDB below the blocks. In these hoarding panels, and we thought that we wanted to use this as a main material for this artwork. And these are always reused, and we have thought that why not use this aluminium panels as the main materials for this project. So the detail is really simple for mouse circular hollow section. And then we create rings around it. And then we bring the hoarding panels together after the artwork is done on it and to put it together to embrace the column, and hence the project is called Project Embrace. And what is great about this is that the artwork can be replaced, the artworks can be changed every year, and depending on the seasons and depending on the festival. And definitely we went through different details and rounds of discussion with SMRT and LCA to come up with a detail that works. Their base requirement is that nothing touches the column. Their columns are precious. There is no invasive methods of drilling onto it. So this way of mounting it is actually mounting on the soil and on the earth side it, and it's not touching the columns. And then we were doing some prototypes, and this actually won the Design Singapore Design Awards. And the next 2 slides are really just artworks that I'll just like to show you. And this put together by the different community sponsors. And this is an interesting one because we had to approach Nippon Builders. Nippon Builder is one of the contractors that did some of the upgrading works in the HDB. So one day I saw their logo on one of the posters that they are doing upgrading in the HDB. So I approached them to say, I'm doing a community project. Would you like to partner me? I want your hoarding panels to be used for this purpose. So thankfully, they were very, very supportive. And so this material came at no cost. And that is, I think, one of the brilliance, and I think one of the skills of architects that most of you have to adopt, which is that convincing skill set about bringing greater good to the community and getting different stakeholders to come together, maybe at certain costs, but show them what the possibility can be, and they can be involved in it. So they did a prototype very quickly. I was very surprised at the speed, and when I called them, they very quickly did out a mock-up, and they provided me and reserved these holding panels for me. And the next part is really the artwork. And the 8 artworks, we have wanted it to be representing different parts of the community, different parts of our residents. The first one, an artwork that I created myself, different circles coming together to create this concentric of circles at the center, the 2 yellow spots, which I envision that people will come here to take a photo with them standing with the circle at the back of their head, almost like a halo, right? So this, I was lucky enough that the president of Singapore, Qhomemart, painted the certain parts of it, and then it was put up. So that was really quite incredible. So this was the intent. And again, brush through the different types of artwork, engage artists to paint artworks, and this particular artwork is able to be activated by AR. So when you use your phone to scan it, it shows you different parts of where we say things that people can relate to and people that love when we grew up in Ringroad. Neighbors, different fun parts of living in a HDB and the hawker center, different characters that we meet. And dreams, schools are involved too. Primary school, Fuha Primary School, it happens to be my primary school. So I definitely want them to be involved. So I give the art teacher a call. They say, oh, okay, sure, why not? And it became a very popular engagement activity, even with their parents and their kids. So they were involved in painting a part of this artwork, and they created this really amazing artwork. And migrant workers, to pay homage to our migrant workers working in Singapore, Meet Me Halfway is an artist who did this artwork, and we came together. We invited different migrant workers to paint this artwork together to thank them. What's done? Wellness, to remind everyone that everything's gonna be okay. Singapore Kindness Movement collaborated with us. Inclusivity, not to forget people with disabilities. We want them to be represented in our community. So each of these are their artworks. We want the public to see their talents. And yeah, so typically every year they will design artwork for National Day back. And we have taken their artwork with their permission to put it on this artwork. And lastly, Singapore is a multiracial society. We want to express the 10 different religions that we have, and we have put together the different symbols and patterns that best represents the religions and put them together in this manner and in collaboration with the religious organization. And this was a little fun engagement with the religious leader. A few of them came together, they painted a part of it, and yeah, generally very happy with this initiative. And this was a photo taken with the minister. Yeah, she happened to be a minister in Singapore, who is the MP in Hua. So that's her in the middle, looking really happy. Those are the concept and how to execute it. We got together and slowly, piece by piece, we put them together. And not forgetting the hard work of the people who did it. We took a photo with them, we thanked them, and we took a photo behind the artwork that represent migrant workers. And of course, this is my family and my daughter, my kid. My daughter is always very happy that, when we walk past this, she will always point out to the part that she painted and say that this is her artwork. So this is what is heartening about such a project. It transformed a space. Though it may be something that we've seen in many other countries, but for Singapore, this is considered rather unique, and it really brightens up a certain part of our HDB heartland. And when people run past it, they are greeted by this urban gallery. So really, as an architect, you have to go out of your way to think how you as an architect can be a useful member in the community In this case, it was just a casual run on I think a Friday night. I was just running past it. I was thinking, what can I as architect contribute to the community? What can I do with it? Then this came about. Community, the residents, to create a sense of belonging, ownership, and inspiration. Just a last one, which I won't really touch on it, but I think everyone is very much experts in it. As architects, we craft homes, we create designs to let people inhabit in it, to stay in it. I'll just touch on one project that I've done in Singapore. Actually, only what's interesting here is actually in Singapore, only around 5% of our population stays in a landed property. 90 to 95% stays in a condo and HDB. So a landed project in Singapore is actually really rare, and to be able to get something, yeah, it's a rare deal. So in this project, the strategy is not to tear down the whole building, but really to make use of this in the middle, give it a strategy. And in this case, we have printed a strategy and a concept of a house on two rocks. This is really a grand vision, but it's an exciting one that really start to convert the edges of the side of this building to sit on it's almost like the building sitting on two rocks and the pool right in the middle of it. Yep. With a bridge across the two parts. So yeah, these are the other photos. So won't bore you with more other landed projects, but I'll just like to very quickly also just brush through that I mentioned to you that architects in Singapore, we actually also do have many interior projects because 95% stay in landed HDBs, condos. So many of us also have to master interior design, and because that's how the market is in Singapore. So different kinds of homes for owners are also within the works of our practice, and different homes that express the character of a different end users. Again, different different home owners are different, and they have different requirements that require your expertise to craft their beloved home. So I've talked about so many different types of end users, and I'd just like to give, maybe it's a bit heavy at this point, that you'll feel that the responsibility as an architect, that you have to be sensible, you have to be sensitive, you have to react to the different needs of the end users. Those are all on us as architects because we are equipped with the skill sets and, in a way, the responsibility to react to people. So coming back, I'm drawing a close to this talk. Again, I'd just like to draw a comparison between Singapore and Indonesia. So as architects, are we really that different? We are equipped with the skill set to solve similar issues, though we have a different context, different history, different material options. But I think that beyond the borders, our duties and responsibility as architects to the people are more aligned than we think and far more relevant than ever now. Because with the upcoming of AI and all, people want something with human touch, and what all of us can offer is really precious and relevant. One final statistics I would like to show, which I asked ChatGPT, talking about AI, which is how many architects are there in Singapore versus how many architects are there in Indonesia. So what is interesting is I thought this statistics, there are roughly around 35 to 45 architects per 100K urban population, 100,000 people in Singapore. That's actually quite high. So, but in Indonesia, there's roughly around, based on the statistics found online, roughly 10 to 14 architects per 100,000 population. So actually, in this sense, there is lesser of you serving more people. So then, in a way, the responsibility of each of you is even more. I feel that there is potential. You look at the land size, look at the massive opportunities that Indonesia provide in terms of urban development. So it paints, it gives a really optimistic future for our friends and architects in Indonesia. And I hope that you understand that architecture is way beyond borders. It's about this common identity of us and our responsibility. And I hope you take every opportunity to practice it in a way that the community requires of us to inspire them and essentially to be a better human being. And because being a better human being, you will understand the needs of a human and you will provide the way, design the way that is required of them. And with this, terima kasih. I thank you for your time. I hope it didn't take too long and we can have some Q&A for this round. Thank you.
Okay, very interesting presentation from Wentian. Very insightful, very interesting design approach, and I think it can be used for us to reflect in our daily practices as an architect. Okay, we are going to start the Q&A session, but before, I think we are going to finish this presentation by virtual photo for the participant. Are the operator has been ready for take some photos? Operator, are you ready? Okay.
Oke, Mas, proceed, Mas.
Okay. There are 109 people in this presentation. Okay. For slide 1, people in the page 1 are